seeing overcast skies and cooler temperatures. Yes, you might need a sweater if you're heading outdoors today because we're seeing those temperatures in the 50s. Here's a live look from South Texas College, currently 57 in McAllen. That dew point at 54, northwest winds at 21 miles an hour. As we look at those currents all across the valley, we are dealing with temperatures in the 50s, and they fell just a little bit lower than what we expected. Right now, 56 in Harlingen, 58 in Rio Grande City, still at 61 in Brownsville with those winds gusting up to about 20-25 miles an hour, but we are up to 25, 26 degrees cooler than what we were yesterday, all thanks to that cold front that has moved through and arrived to the valley. And we were dealing with some storms earlier today, but of course, still seeing those very breezy conditions from South Padre Island to Harlingen. Winds at 23 miles an hour in Harlingen, 21 miles an hour in McAllen. As we look at the total rainfall for the past 12 hours, we got up to about 1.5 to 2 inches of rain in northern Hidalgo County. In Cameron County, 1.28 inches of rain in Harlingen. There was an area just to the east of Los Fresnos that had a radar approximation of 5 inches of rain. So we were definitely dealing with some very loud storms, heavy rain, gusty winds clocking out at 54 miles an hour in McAllen. Current radar right now, all the rain has definitely come to an end. However, there is still some rain occurring right now just near South Padre Island. But as we look at the future clouds and radar, we are expecting that cloud cover to remain across the valley as we head into the rest of this afternoon. Those temperatures are going to be struggling to get into the 60s for today, and overnight lows remaining in the 50s. So we're just going to be dealing with these 50-degree temps for the most part as we head into the next 24 to 48 hours. Highs tomorrow topping out in the 70s. So definitely expecting conditions to be on the cooler side from here on out into the weekend. As we look at the future temps as we go into tomorrow morning, you can be waking up to temperatures in the 50s. So you're definitely going to need a light sweater heading out the door tomorrow morning, because we're definitely expecting that high pressure system that's now moving closer towards us. That's going to be responsible for clearing us out and giving us some sunny skies. So we are expecting some pleasant weather for the weekend. As we look at the future clouds and rain, we're just going to be in the 70s for tomorrow, and then that high pressure system that starts building in across the South Texas, and that's going to give us the opportunity for a lot of sunshine, but we will start warming up into the 80s as we head into the start of next week. Lows in the 60s, so we are definitely expecting that warming trend to take place. Roller coaster weather in store for us as we head into the next few days. Tropical storm WANDA still in the Atlantic Ocean. We're going to head off towards Europe there. That's not going to pose a threat to the U.S. We are still dealing with some activity in the tropics, and a good thing that no activity is expected for us within the next 5 days. 7-day forecast temperatures topping out at 66 for today. Friday 74, lows in the 50s, and then in the 80s for the start of next week.